We will talk today about Usman dan Fodio's Islamic revolution that forged an empire. In the late 18th century, the region we now know as northern Nigeria was a patchwork of competing Hausa city-states, Gobir, Kano, Katsina, and Zaria. While culturally rich, these states were often plagued by internal strife, corrupt taxation, and the syncretic blending of Islam with older animist traditions. Into this world of political fragmentation and spiritual unease stepped a scholar, a teacher, and a mystic. His name was Usman dan Fodio, and he would unleash a revolutionary force that would redraw the map of West Africa and create one of the largest empires of the 19th century. This is the story of the Sokoto Caliphate, a revolution born not of pure conquest, but of a fiery call for religious and social reform. First, let us talk about the preacher who instructed his followers to build a revolution on a supreme idea. Usman dan Fodio was not a warrior by trade. He was a Fulani religious scholar, deeply educated in Islamic law, theology, and mysticism. For decades, he traveled as an itinerant preacher, attracting a vast following of both Fulani herders and disaffected Hausa peasants. His message was one of puritanical reform. He criticized the Hausa rulers for their heavy taxation, their tolerance of non-Islamic practices, and their injustice towards the poor. He preached a return to the pure egalitarian principles of early Islam. His growing community, or Jamaya, became a state within a state, a pious society operating on the fringes of Hausa power. He was a charismatic leader, but his real power lay in his pen, writing poetry, legal tracts, and manifestos that articulated a powerful vision for a just society. The stage was set for a clash between this spiritual movement and the entrenched political powers. We come now to the jihad and the transformation from preaching to war. The turning point came with the ruler of Gobir, Muhammadu Yunfa, who saw dan Fodio's movement as a direct threat to his authority. Yunfa attempted to assassinate dan Fodio and placed increasing restrictions on his followers, even banning the wearing of turbans and veils. A serious crisis took place in 1803 when Yunfa attacked and captured many of dan Fodio's followers and marched them through Dagal, enraging and forcing other followers to attack the army and free the prisoners. In 1804, after a failed attempt at negotiation, Usman dan Fodio was declared the Amir al-Mu'minin, commander of the faithful, and performed the Hijra, a symbolic migration mirroring the Prophet Muhammad's, to Gudu. This was the official start of the jihad. The war was not a foregone conclusion. The Hausa kings had cavalry and fortified cities, but dan Fodio's forces, led by his brother Abdullahi and his son Muhammad Bello, were fiercely motivated. They believed they were fighting a holy war for God's law. Several skirmishes preceded the forces meeting at the Battle of Tsuntua in December 1804. Although Yunfa was victorious and dan Fodio lost over 2,000 men, the battle did not diminish his force. Dan Fodio's army retaliated by capturing the village of Matankari in southwestern Niger. This led to the Battle of Tabkin Kwato near the capital fort of Gobir. Dan Fodio's victory was a turning point in the history of his wars. It convinced many people to join his forces. In 1805, the dan Fodio's forces captured the Hausa kingdom of Kebbi. In 1807, they took over Katsina, whose ruler, Magajan Halidu, committed suicide following his defeat. Later, dan Fodio's forces captured the Sultanate of Kano, whose king Muhammad al-Wali II was forced to flee to Zazau and Barum, where he was killed in a battle. In 1808, dan Fodio's jihadists assaulted Gobir, killing Yunfa in the Battle of Al-Kalawa and destroying large parts of the city. In the same year, dan Fodio's brother Abdullahi dan Fodio took over the Kebbi Emirate. Hence, the jihadists saw themselves as part of a wider regional struggle. The military phase was largely over by this time. The challenge now was to build the just society Dan Fodio had preached about. The Sokoto Caliphate was established, with its capital eventually moving to Sokoto. This was not just a change of rulers, it was a total societal transformation. The Caliphate created a legal revolution. Sharia law was implemented as the law of the land, with a hierarchy of courts and judges. The Caliphate also founded an administrative empire. The state was divided into emirates, each loyal to the central caliph in Sokoto. This decentralized system allowed for effective governance over a vast area. From a Muslim perspective, the Caliphate represented an intellectual golden age. Usman dan Fodio, his brother, and his son were prolific writers. They produced thousands of works on governance, theology, and law, making Sokoto a major center of Islamic learning in Africa. The Caliphate consolidated trade routes, promoted literacy, and created a unified legal and political space that would last for a century. The legacy of Usman dan Fodio is profound, yet complex. On one hand, he created a stable, enduring political and religious identity that still defines northern Nigeria today. The Sokoto Caliphate was the largest single state in Africa in the 19th century and successfully resisted total colonization until the British conquest in 1903. On the other hand, the jihad was violent and resulted in the death and displacement of thousands of people. The success of Dan Fodio's jihad had inspired many West African conservative jihadists, such as the Messina Empire founder Sekou Ahmadu, the Tukulur Empire founder Omar Saidu Tall, the Wasulu Empire founder Samari, the Adamawa Emirate founder Modibo Adama, and the Zabarma Emirate founder Babatu. Besides, the Caliphate's economy, like many of its era, was built on a system of plantation slavery, with captives from non-Muslim communities serving as a labor force, a stark contradiction to its message of spiritual liberation. Usman dan Fodio's revolution stands as a pivotal moment in African history. It demonstrates the power of ideas to mobilize masses and reshape societies. He was a scholar who became a general, a preacher who founded an empire. His story forces us to grapple with the complexities of history, where spiritual idealism meets political reality, and where the quest for a just society can empower and subjugate. The empire he built may be gone, but its shadow and the questions it raises about faith, power, and justice still loom large in African regions. As Usman dan Fodio himself said, "He who settles himself in a place which will be the cause of his destruction, then his destruction is of his own earning." More videos on African history. Thank you for watching.